Welcome to Accessible Giving with Alison Patterson, where we are going to be learning about giving in ways that are practical and not in the traditional philanthropy sense, and aligning our giving with our values. Alison is an expert in this space. She has been in not-for-profit leadership for 25 years. And so we're really getting into this space around generosity, philanthropy. I'm so thrilled to have her here. And after 25 years of not-for-profit leadership experience, Alison's making generosity feel human and accessible at every level. She graduated in psychology from Duke University and then spent 7 years on Capitol Hill working for a US senator, thinking that that's where she would live out her purpose. Then she took a brave step to move sight unseen to Kansas City, Missouri to get her master's degree. And while working there, noticed that working in the not-for-profit industry, noticed people want to be generous and there has to be a better way, and was the thought that you had, Alison. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here.
It's just such an interesting conversation. I love that you have opened this up to people, that philanthropy was and has been seen as something very inaccessible. And you've really been inspired for a long time to shift this, and you are changing it for people. So I'd love to hear a little around your journey. Can you walk us through how you got to this point of offering something quite different?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love that you sort of gave all that background. And as I was working for 25 years in the not-for-profit space, mainly in small to mid-size organizations, what I found was that, humans just everywhere, they were walking around, they wanted to be generous, but they were feeling overwhelmed with what was going on in the world. They were being asked over and over again. And, as you mentioned, I got to this point where I felt like there had to be a better way. And it actually came from a cocktail party. So I was at a cocktail party, and this woman that I just admired so much in our community, she made eye contact with me across the room, and then she kind of turned away. And I was like, what's going on? But then I realized that I had recently called her about a gift. And she just didn't want to say no. And she didn't know how to say no. And I thought, there's got to be something there. There's got to be a better way. And most of the people who were working in my space at the time were working with ultra high net worth individuals who were giving away millions and millions of dollars. So most people weren't really working with what I call everyday change makers. And they weren't at the time, and this was over 10 years ago, they weren't really trying to, or they didn't have the ability, because the first thing that everybody asked me was, well, how are you going to make money doing that? And so it just really put me on this purposeful journey to figure out what that could look like for everyday humans and how I could walk alongside them.
Amazing.
And to help them feel generous.
So great. And so where have you landed with that? How did you answer the question, how can you make money with this? And where have you landed in terms of what you offer people to help them to get into accessible giving?
So really, it's by taking many of the tools that those ultra high net worth clients have and trying to put them into sizable pieces and parts, right? So you can do a workbook or an online workshop. And we're really fortunate that right now there are a lot more people like me doing this work. But it's only started to really happen in the last few years. And so I work with people in small chunks or in larger areas and for longer periods of time. But I really start with that grounding piece of, what are you really looking for? What do you need? Are you trying to focus your time? Are you trying to focus your money? Are you do you see that you have some expertise that the world could take advantage of and you don't quite know how to use that? So that's where I like to start with people, and then guide them to any of these number of ways that we could work together.
And where are you seeing people making a change? Where are everyday change makers jumping in and doing something that would otherwise not happen?
I think that they are taking these micro steps, and they are coming together as a community. So we're seeing lots more giving circles because people understand that they may not have millions of dollars or hundreds of dollars, but $10 together with 100 people with $10 can create some momentum and can certainly create change, especially for these smaller nonprofits. And what I see, at least in my own practice, is really just people trying to understand how they can make an impact on the world, and where that fits, so that they can feel that joy, and understand that they've been intentional and they haven't kind of have dripped away the good that they've created in the world.
Exciting, exciting. I'd love to come back to this story about the cocktail party and the woman who struggled to say no. So you could kind of see that she was avoiding you rather than saying no to this giving request.
Yes.
What is it, do you think, that is the motivation, or why would someone avoid you rather than saying no? What do you see in your work, or why do you think she struggled to say no? What insights can we get there?
I think that women certainly, but I think many people haven't really been taught how to protect that yes. And again, many times we're raised to be the glue, the fixer, and so every single ask feels important. And so when we say no, we're letting someone down. Or is this gonna really create a lot of havoc in where we are? And what I try and help people to see is when we can have a very intentional yes and a really joyful no, actually what we're doing is that we are stewarding our own impact. We're stewarding our own generosity. It's not selfish. And it is how we protect our values, how we protect our priorities. And so again, it is for me, helping them, because honestly, a very different woman was the woman who taught me this. And she was the one who gave me the language, because when I made a call to her, she said, Alison, I love that you're working with this organization. But right now, I really need to work, drive what I have to give around
Mm,
this. And
mm.
it's helping people to understand that I love that you are out there fighting for this particular cause, and I trust that there are enough of you out there that where I'm going to protect my own place, my own impact, and so that I can do the good that is mine to do in our world.
Isn't that just fantastic? There's such a lovely balance there between the person themselves and their priorities, and then respect for the other person. And I think that you've achieved that in that concept of the intentional yes and the joyful no. That's a wonderful way of looking at it. And I know that I myself have also thought about what are all the ways I can say no. In busy times, I've needed to say no a lot more, and I've skilled myself with no. I've written down ways that I would say no so that I feel
Right,
ready to go, because it's not the easiest thing to do. So
right,
it's
right.
wonderful that it sounds like your inspiration there, she really practiced that and was quite,
You did.
communicative of the respect and the appreciation at the same time. How
Yeah,
amazing. What a great example.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What have you, in your own journey as you become more publicly visible, what have you faced personally? I know that you mentioned in the beginning of this journey, you were under the radar, and now you think, I perhaps wouldn't have liked to be so under the radar. So what have you faced personally in terms of becoming more comfortable with being publicly visible?
I really had to do a lot of work with this around, and I myself have a coach that I've had to really work with around just getting comfortable with that, the idea that I can let them be who they are, but I can also, I'm a pioneer. I'm an expert in what I'm doing. I am a big deal. I bring big deal energy to the table, but it takes a lot of a lot. It's taken a long time, and it's been baby steps along the way. So it was, first just being able to let go and release that I didn't have to be like the others, and then really beginning to sit in my own power. And again, that happened because I had, groups of women and a wonderful coach behind me, really helping me to understand what that meant. And so it take baby steps. And even this, is a really important step, because I haven't done a LinkedIn Live. This is super fun. But it also is, it bolsters that, yes, okay, absolutely. And so that's why I'm super grateful to be here with you today and to be able to tell my story, because it matters. What
It
you're doing matters.
Thank you. It does matter, and it's wonderful to be able to surface these stories. And what I'm hearing and what you're saying is this was an intentional yes for you. This is another thing where you're intentionally saying yes to more opportunities and becoming more comfortable in the journey as you do that,
Yes.
supported with coaching, with people around you to inspire you to do that. I just love it. Thank you for sharing your journey. Everyone can learn from that, because
Yeah,
we often look at people who are visible and think that they just somehow kind of jumped there, but there's a whole lot of pieces that help to get there. And so
absolutely.
you mentioned that your mission statement grounds you, and that's the story that you talk about publicly. So can you share how having clarity around your mission has helped you to say no yourself to things that aren't aligned,
Mhm.
and shaped your professional journey?
Yes, absolutely. And it's something that I have to practice myself. But that mission statement, that focus statement, that real understanding of who I am and what I mean to impact, it helps me set those guardrails. And it helps me to understand what I believe, who I'm here to champion. So, a part of it is, I believe that generosity is power. I champion women and families and community resilience. So being able to sort of walk around in my own skin with this mantra that I'm constantly reminding myself of helps me to really have those intentional yeses,
Mm,
exactly right. So I've I've been able to say no to opportunities that I did early on in this journey, because I actually opened the doors in 2019, right before the pandemic, and I would say yes to every opportunity, and oh yes, I'll do this for you. Oh yes, I'll do that for you, rather than really grounding myself in my own purpose statement, my own mission statement. So it's something that I've had to learn myself, uh,
mm.
but it grounds me and it gives me those guardrails in terms of how, and if I get too close to the guardrail, I just recorrect, right?
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like the autopilot is actually an autocorrect. It's constantly correcting
yeah,
to find the path. So
yeah.
it's I think life is a lot less linear than we tend to think that it is. And so when you work with clients who want to make an impact but are undefined about their own giving direction, what is the first step in helping them to translate their mission, their passion, and their purpose into action?
You know, most people believe that they have to have that action step. So I'm going to give my money. I'm going to give my time. I'm going to do, boom, boom, boom. So, but really what they need is that language, right? So I stop back and I really say, okay, let's get back to that why,
Mm,
because the why helps you say, this is who I am as
mm,
a giver. This is what I stand for, and this is the impact that I want to make. And so, again, once that clicks, we have the ability to really start narrowing in. And so that's why I talk about, you know, um, starting really with a dreaming session, because to me, I really need to understand what it is, because maybe you do just need that focus statement, and maybe that's where we start, and we just help you create that. And you can either do it in a DIY way, you can join a workshop, or we can work together individually, right? Maybe that's all you need. Maybe you do need action steps and plans and ways to really move forward. Okay, that's great. Let's figure out what the best tool in my tool belt is. And if it's not in my tool belt, then I have this amazing network of advisors all over the country and actually all over the world that I can say, actually, I think this is what you might need. Why don't you talk to this person? So, an example of that was, I was working with a woman, and she wanted to start a nonprofit for nurses in particular. And we had a dreaming session, and I said, actually, I think what you want to do is start a giving circle. And here's a resource for you. And so now she's got a giving circle, and that's how they get to what they're trying to, that's how she's accomplishing what she's trying to accomplish.
very cool. And so what's the big vision for you? Where do you see this going? And it could be in terms of the industry and the work as you see it evolving, as you see people shifting in their thinking about giving, or
Yes.
is there a vision or a mission that you are wanting to bring to the world beyond
Yes.
the individuals?
I think we are sitting in such an exciting time, because this kind of intentionality is honestly so much more common right
Mm,
now. In some ways, that's because women are about to be 60% of the world's billionaires with a B, and that's either earned or inherited. And so they have a different way of looking at the world.
mm,
I don't think it's good or bad. I just think it's different.
mm,
We have that same conversation around millennials. Millennials in their workplace want to understand they're making a difference, and many of them don't have tons of money, but they have networks and they have voices. And so I think giving all of those types of individuals a bigger platform
mm,
is the is what's coming. And I'm already a part of several organizations that are doing that work
mm.
uh, already, and they're working with everyday humans, and they're training people to be philanthropic advisors, and they are training wealth advisors to have those conversations around their money. So, for me, I just want to be a part of it. I
Yeah.
want to do the good that's mine to do, and help anyone else who has a specific gift
Yeah.
that is theirs, to do that for themselves.
Fantastic. I'm so excited to hear that shift and to hear that trend is
Mhm. Yes.
good. And I think, like you say, when we can see people joining together and using what they have, using their voice, using their talents, thinking and giving in really a different way, it totally shifts the conversation. We talk about,
Yes.
philanthropy is no longer something that we only think about with relation to ultra high net worth individuals. And so, what is the first step people can take with you? You've got a free experience people can have, a free session with you. Did you want to talk about that and what's best?
Absolutely. And it's just exactly what we've talked about. It's called a dreaming session. I know you're going to link it. And honestly, it was in my conversation with you that, and I've had this conversation with other people, that I finally said, okay, I need to put this above, on the hero section in my website. So it is right there at the front page of my website, so that people can go and they can sign up, and we'll just take 30 minutes and we'll dream a little bit together. And that's the first step. And depending on, where they want to go, we'll figure out next steps. And maybe they decide they want to really do a generosity reset. And so in January, I host online and live actual planning processes. So you can put your plan together for the next year.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alison, for inspiring us, for sharing some of what's happening, and also a way for other people to access that and to get into it with you. So it's an important conversation. I love that we're at the cusp of something. It feels like, a really quite significant shift there. So one of the quotes I love is from one of these female billionaires, as it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Sarah Blakely talks about embracing what you don't know, because in the beginning, that can be your greatest asset. In that, that was really how she changed the game in her industry, was that what she didn't know, the ways that people did things, the standard ways of doing things, were just ripe for disruption. And then she took that opportunity. So I love that you're disrupting in that sense, along with others. And being an inspiration. So thank you so much for joining us, for sharing that. And I encourage everyone to connect up with Alison through that link, which will be a comment on this event. Or if you find it as a post, you'll see it as a comment there as well. Thanks, Alison, for joining us.
Thank you, Nina. I have so enjoyed this time with you. Thank you.
So great to chat. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.